Okay, so we're not going to go too much into these other panels right now before we get started, but I just wanted to make you aware of the pages one because that's going to be a very important one later in your assignments. But just be aware that there's all these panels. Today we're going to be using the character one, and that's about it. And oh, the link one. Where's the link one? Link one is not here, so I'm going to grab it. Links. And I'm just going to shove it over here. So links is also going to be important. Okay, so we're going to place an image. So I'm going to place a full bleed image. Again, there are 3 different ways to place an image. The best way, I think, is to grab this little rectangle frame here. Now note in your tool panel that there are 2 kind of square or rectangle images or tools. Unfortunately, they're right on top of each other, so it can be confusing or you can get mixed up between the 2. But just understand that this rectangle frame, as opposed to just the rectangle tool, which will draw you a shape of a rectangle, or if I hold down, I will be able to get a circle or a polygon. And if I hold down the rectangle frame, I can also draw a ellipsis or a circle frame or a polygon frame. But just be aware that when we, in the world of design, when we see a shape with an X through it, that always means image. So it's just kind of the shorthand for image. So just note that that little cross through the shape here means that it's going to be an image frame. You can place a photograph, an illustration, whatever. So I'm going to click on this rectangle frame, and I'm going to just click, hold from that red bleed line, that top left one to this bottom right one. Now I'm going to hold and then click, drag, and drop, and then that you can see now that frame has that X through it, and so I know that an image can be placed there. You'll notice that it's actually green right now, and I just remembered that I have these different layers. So if I click on the different layers and draw different frames, you'll notice that the color of the frame is dependent on the layer color. So now I have 3 different frame colors here. One of them is blue, one's red, one is green, and that just means that it's associated with that layer. If I click on the green layer again and I click on some type, you'll see that that type box is now green as well. So that's just showing me what layer that is. So I actually don't need any of these layers, so I'm just going to click on them and delete them, press OK. I don't want that one either. And then everything associated with that layer also disappears. Lots of different ways to delete things. I can just click on something and delete it as well. So I have this one layer. Let's close that. I have this one layer with this rectangle frame on it, and I'm going to now go File, Place, or Control D, if you will, and locate a file that I want to emit. So I'm just going to click on it. If you don't know what these images look like, you can also click on the preview here. You can also press the space bar to open it up in another preview button, and I can kind of click the arrow keys now to. Oh, it's going to be way too slow, so I'm going to not do it that way. I'm just going to do it like this. Oh, I have 2 of the same ones. Apologies. So, or a couple of the same ones. Many of the same ones. I'll change that as well. So this is going to be a full page ad with some text over it. So I'm going to do this one. I'm going to press open. And now that you can see that that image is now placed in the file. It is not embedded. It is not actually there. What this is doing is actually linking. So here, if I click on my link panel, I can see all the file information there. So I can see, for instance, that I can see the file name. I can see the format, JPEG in this case. I can see the size of it. I can see the actual PPI, the effective PPI, which means that 300, which is good, it's print ready. Anything lower than 300 will not be printable, but for the sake of our assignments in class, we're not going to worry about that too much. You will notice, though, that this image is not the full image. So when I actually locate, if I do it here in my links panel, it's so much easier to locate that. Oh, pull that up. All right, sorry, excuse me. It's I'm going to go to that link. No, I want to actually, what do I want to do? Go to link? No, that's just doing the wrong thing. Let me just go back to my files and find that actual image. Wrong one, excuse me. Where is it? Here we go. 3, and which one was it? I think it was this one. So you can see that that is a much bigger image. There's a lot more image there. So we only have a vertical alignment page here, this 8.5 by 11. Oh, just so you know too, I'm hitting the tab button to collapse the panel menus and the control and the tools so I can see my file a little bit better. So again, tab is doing that, and if I want to press on my tab and then W, you can see the preview, so what it's going to print like. So you can see that that bleed actually includes a little bit of that red sweater here, but when I click on the W to the print preview, that's not included. I'm just going to zoom out by pressing Command 0. Press W to kind of see it again. So the tools here in this case, close that, that are going to be beneficial to us are really just these two top tools right now. The first one is the black arrow key, and if I hover over it, I can see it's called the selection tool. I can press, if I'm going to say in another tool, I can press V to select that tool. So that V tool is really, really important, but you'll notice that when it's actually going to allow us to move images or move objects. But you'll notice that, so when I'm on the workspace here on the side here, that black arrow or that selection tool is visible. But when I hover over the image, now that hand icon appears and this little bull's eye. So what that's actually telling me is that if I click on this now, I'm actually going to be moving the image within the frame. So obviously that's very useful occasionally and often. But say I don't want to do that. Say I actually want to move the frame and not the image within the frame. So I just have to make sure that that hand is not appearing. So say, yeah, for some reason it's not appearing now when I hover over it. So I can now click on that image box, and you'll notice that I can now I can resize the frame. I can move the frame. I can rotate the frame, and I can resize it, reposition it, rotate, move it, and it's very useful. If I want to undo anything, I'm just going to go, in this case, Command Z to undo, and you can do that as many times as you want. You can also click on undo here until you get it back to what you want it, that frame, with it to do that bleed line. So again, you want to click on that that black arrow key to move frames. But if you want to move the image within the frame now, you have to click on that white arrow key, and that will move, you see when you kind of click on it. Now, if I also have the black arrow selected and that hand appears, or I click on that bullseye, now I can move that image within the frame.